Before we get started with today's show, I'm here to tell you about Brez Coffee Company, made by gamers for gamers right here on the Gulf Coast in Pensacola, Florida. Do you like light or medium roast? Then try the Necro Medium, Holy Grail Light, or Stamina Boost. Or if you're like me and prefer darker roast, try the Critical Dark or the Coup Slayer Mocha Roast. But what if you can't pick just one? Then try one of their specialty sample packs, perfect for an all-night gaming, or in the case of my fellow filmmakers, an all-night editing session. Forget about all the crappy coffee you've been buying at the grocery store and head on over to brezcoffeeco.com. Use the promo code DDE at checkout to get 10% off your order. Have you ever thought to yourself after listening to this podcast, why didn't Derek ask this question? Or why didn't he ask that question? I know I certainly have. Well, you get the chance to do that if you sign up for my Patreon at patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast. You get the chance to ask guests of the show a question. If you're a fan of the top 5 list, you get the chance to vote on what the topic will be. You also get early access to episodes, accessibility to my film scripts, and so much more. And you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast. And we want to thank our Patreon, Tim Spivey. Thank you so much for your continued contributions to the podcast. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Derek Diamond Experience podcast, where every week I take a look inside the world of film and television with those who have lived it and experienced it. I am your host, Derek Diamond, and hopefully you all have some fun 4th of July plans for this weekend. It's crazy to think that we're already halfway through the year. I know I've been saying that off and on this show and over on Nerd Cave Retro, but it really is crazy. After the hectic year that was 2020, now that things have started to get back to normal and everything, it's crazy how fast time has gone since the start of the year. It feels like, I should just be starting baseball season, but we're already pretty much halfway through that. Sunday will be actually the halfway point of the Blue Wahoo season, which is crazy to think about. But for this week's show, and I touched on it at the end of last week's, I wanted to do something a little different. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And I thought with this being a holiday weekend and work being really busy the last couple of weeks, even when we haven't had games, I thought this would be the perfect time to do it. And what I'm talking about is a watch-along. Some also call it commentary tracks. And I've noticed a lot of other podcasts have been doing this, where they watch something and react to it as it happens. And it kind of takes me back to the early days of purchasing DVDs and discovering the director's commentary or producer's commentary, actors, whatever the case may be, of getting a couple of people together and essentially watch the movie and talk about, what went into certain scenes happening or what an actor was trying to convey, what they were feeling in their head as they were giving this performance through certain parts of the movie. So I thought it would be cool to do that for this show, and it's actually going to be an added benefit to my Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast. In addition to voting for top 5 episodes that I do at the end of the month, I'm also going to be doing monthly watch-alongs. It might be just myself, it might be me bringing a friend on, or maybe even a group of people to watch something that you, the Patreon subscribers, will get to vote on. And I'll be posting that poll with the top 5 poll as well. It's already up when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it the day it drops. The polls will last about 2 weeks, and then around the end of the month, I'll record the top 5 as well as the watch-alongs. And the watch-alongs are going to be exclusive to Patreon for 1 month. So say the watch-along I release, in July won't be available to the public until the end of August. The one that is recorded for Patreon that drops in August will go public in September. So you get exclusive access early on when it comes to the commentary track, watch along, whatever you want to call it. In addition to early access to episodes, getting to vote on other show topics, getting to ask guests of the show questions, you can head over to patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast for all of that information. But to me, it was kind of a no-brainer for this trial run, is what I'm calling it, of a watch-along, and that is the Parker Syndrome. the first movie that I ever wrote and directed. And I'll be talking a little bit about, the backstory of the movie and what went into certain scenes. And the film is on YouTube, and I'll be posting the link to it in the show description so you can watch along with me. Now, if you're watching the video version, you'll see it's almost going to be like a picture-in-picture where you'll see the actual movie, and then I'll be in the bottom corner of the screen. So if you're listening to audio, then just pull it up on YouTube, and you can watch along with me. And I actually have it pulled up right now. It's at the 0 minute, 0 seconds mark. So it's 000, the very beginning of the video. So what we'll do is I'll count down from 3, and when I say play, you hit play as well, and you can watch along with the Parker Syndrome with me. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. I've got the YouTube video pulled up, and we are going to start. Again, when I say play is when you hit play as well. So we're starting in 3, 2, 1, play. Anchor of Reality Films. My friend Adam actually made that logo the week of the premiere. So the funny story behind the Anchor of Reality, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. So we have the movie starting off here. This is actually Zach Dykes' car, my former co-host over at the Nerd Cave podcast. And we have our first look at our main characters, Emma and Ethan. There's the angry, nosy mother. Funny story behind this scene is these two didn't meet in person until about an hour before we started shooting. And as you can see here, they're about to kiss. So that was a fun little way for them to get introduced. I'm like, okay, here's Andrew, here's Brittany. You guys have to kiss in like 20 minutes, so go ahead. Ethan's feeling really good about himself right now. Yeah, this was actually filmed over in East Hill, which those of you who live in Pensacola, you're familiar with that area. This is actually my friends Lance and Shirley Rainey, who played the Parker family in the version of the Parker Syndrome I made out of college. So I thought it was kind of fitting that we were able to use their house. And the cool thing is, when I had called Shirley asking if we could use this place, she asked no questions or anything like that, not how many people are coming over, how long will I be there. She just said yes. So it was very humbling to me. That was actually a line that Annalise, who's playing Sabrina, changed at our first run through, which makes sense because Emma's in college and not in high school. Because I had kept that one of those lines from the original version, so it's a good catch on her for that. I really love the score that Emily Varley did for this movie. So tranquil in a way. And we have our first look at Zach, played by Jesse Hartzog. And I got to give him major props for this character because he added a little bit of a quirkiness to the character that I wasn't seeing when writing the story. And that's one of the great things about working with actors is they can sometimes add little nuances that are sometimes better than what you originally planned because they're the ones playing the characters. Their dynamic is what drives the movie. This is Bill Lyons' apartment, who helped run sound on one of the shooting days. It was little things like you see the shirt laying on the couch. The apartment is really kind of messy and jumbly, really disorganized. It was little nuances like that that I'll admit I didn't even think of until we got to set. And it was Steve Wise who mentioned that. And, we brought over a bag of clothes, kind of destroyed the place to make it look like, just There's one guy there and obviously doesn't keep track of it. Laying the groundwork for the climax of the movie. There's something about this scene that reflects another one that I'll get to when we get to their second scene together. I like Jesse's Cyclops look there. He's got really good facial expressions here. This is one of the last two scenes that we filmed for the movie. Dun dun dun. All right, so this is the first scene that we filmed for the whole movie. And to say that I was nervous was a complete understatement, because it really kind of hit me that I had never really been on a set before in that type of a role, that I was essentially the main authority. And here we are with our introduction to dear old Dad, played by Mr. James Poole. Also, props to Kevin Almodovar, the director of photography. The lighting, everything is just perfect. He was so invaluable. He and Steve especially, they were very instrumental in making this movie happen, because without their expertise and them essentially mentoring me in different ways of film was the reason why this happened and why it looks as good as it does. I couldn't have been happier with how the lighting looks, especially in this, the living room especially. Everything from the aesthetic to the lights and everything is just so great. There was a line that James said earlier when he said, "I'm sure Madison's already cutting herself." That was the one line that I kept from the original Parker Syndrome. So I'm glad that line still was a hit with audiences. This was the last scene we filmed for day one. It was a very long day. And it's done. The oneer. I've been excited to talk about this. So this is one continuous take. This is in my living room. And we had such a blast destroying the place, making it look like a college frat house. We had a nice smoke machine running. Funny enough, had to take the smoke detectors off the roof because the smoke kept setting them off. But I just love the little nuances of, like you see here, these two characters coming up, interacting. Up and what's going to happen? Oh, he dropped something in her drink. And when we recorded the room tone for this, we actually had everyone was just kind of talking about random things. If you listen really closely, you can hear me and Ray Alfafara, who's in the very back there with the Letterman jacket. We were talking about Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse, because it was either out or it was about to come out at that time. It's all completely improv. This was great. The old switcheroo. The original ending of this movie was very different, but I'm glad that we went with what we did, because it really, Emma solves the issue, as you're about to see, and really makes her, I think, a more powerful character than just as she's been playing a victim essentially through the whole thing. But no, we finished this in near record time, because Andrew unfortunately had to leave early to go to another audition. But we were able to get it done, because my original plan was for everything to be one continuous shot. We were going to try it 4 or 5 times, and if it didn't work, we were going to shoot it more traditional sense. Oh, the pie face. But it all worked out. That was great. Again, great improving by everyone. So what I love about this scene compared to the one that you see earlier, obviously Emma's, her body language, her tone of voice, she's much more confident. The lighting's a little warmer, a little more positive feeling. In a way, she kind of turns the tables on her brother, as you can hear here. I love that 2-shot. And here he is to face his problems. You can see the Christmas lights in the background from because we filmed this in December of 2018, and there were Christmas decorations all around the neighborhood. But that is The Parker Syndrome, written, directed, and produced by yours truly. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit more insight into the making of the film. It's fun to go back and watch, just because knowing all the planning that went into it, and I gained so much more respect for writer-directors, because I know that, because I wasn't even doing this podcast at the time that we were prepping this movie. I was on hiatus, because this was right before I switched the format to film-centric. So I would be going to work from 9 to 5, and then coming back here, and usually working from 5 to 9, 5 to 10, sometimes later, on getting everything prepped, going through auditions, sending out casting calls, rewriting the script, planning with Steve. There's Kevin Almodovar, such an instrumental part of this movie. Everybody's was instrumental in this movie, but yeah, and Emily Varley wrote the score, did a fantastic job with it. I love this song that's playing through the end credits. But yeah, that was The Parker Syndrome. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I hope that I can do another short later on this year once my schedule calms down a little bit. But yeah, if you have any questions about The Parker Syndrome, or you want to know more, feel free to reach out to me. For next week's show is going to be a little bit, well, not a little bit, but it is going to be back to the traditional sense. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a new segment. It depends on what all is going on in the entertainment industry, but I will be back with a guest. Not sure entirely who yet, but I've got a few booked for the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to social media for that, which you can do at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at D Diamond Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on all podcasting platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast for free. Just search for The Derek Diamond Experience. And if you could, please leave a review, because the more reviews I get, the more visible I become to the podcasting public. You can follow me on Patreon at patreon.com/DDiamondPodcast. Watch out for the polls for the month of July, and if you want to sign up, just head on over. Very easy to sign up. And, of course, thank you to my close friends, the Unicorn Wranglers, for providing the theme music for the podcast. You can check out all their music on Apple Music, Google Play, and Spotify. That's going to do it for this week's show, so enjoy the rest of your week. Have a safe and fun 4th of July weekend. Thank you for tuning in to another awesome episode of the Derek Diamond Experience. I am your host, Derek Diamond, and we'll see you guys back here next Thursday.